Hi, I'm Charmaine. Welcome to the Love of Self podcast, where we delve into the emotional aspects of finding love for self. Today's topic is manipulation. Manipulation is a tool that we all use in some way. What if we took the traditional definition and see it in its more true form? A form of molding something, shifting something into a new reality, idea, behavior, structure. We can see something, feel something, hear something, know something, and say what it is to have an effect. We can mend new sculpture, a new existence, especially in ourselves. And how could you possibly do that with your mindset? If we were to manipulate ourselves in a more positive direction, if we were to mold something within our minds that we want to create for the better, how could we go about doing that? I think it would have to do with actively paying attention to the directions that our mind is going to, and doing what we can to mend that toward positivity. I don't at all mean this in a way that is an avoidance of the emotions. It's important to feel your emotions and deal with your emotions. It's important to grasp the real roots of why we feel sadness. It's also important to not let the sadness take over your life and begin to develop uplifting ways of bringing our minds to better places. And that's where the manipulation comes in. We can see things in a realistic light and still be positive toward it. We can still do our best, even though there are things that are not to our benefit. We can still maneuver our minds in order to maneuver our emotions to more positive places. It may be possible to see the world in new eyes, but we first have to make a change within ourselves, to take a look in them, to really consider our mental states and how we can do things to uplift ourselves. It's not easy, but it's possible. It's possible to think differently. It's possible to mold the energetic shape of what we want to put out. We can see things in the true reality and envision our world in a better place through accepting what's real and also accepting the possibility of something better instead of always accepting the negative narrative. We have the power to shift our own minds and finding a way to do it. Finding a way to tell ourselves what's needed within us as opposed to the negative possibilities. We can gain the mental strength to uplift ourselves as best as we can. It's not always easy, especially when we're conditioned to talk ourselves down and hearing a lot of negative comments and statements that we begin to internalize. It's not always so easy to choose happiness. But what if we just begin to start with something? What if we just begin to make a switch every once in a while? A switch to whatever intrusive thought that comes across. and manipulating it into something more uplifting, something more enlightening, something more peaceful, something more grateful. What if we begin to start to change the trajectory of what we feel and what we know is what we actually want out of our reality, instead of expecting the worst all the time? What if every once in a while we begin to see the great possibilities within ourselves instead of the pessimism? What if we begin to become aware of it, of whatever situation that we've come across, and begin to find ways to make it good, to make it a positive outcome? What if when it rains and we saw the needs being met within nature instead of glooming over the cloudy skies? What does that do with our internal makeup? How does it uplift something within us? How does it get us to gain clarity of all the realities that include positivity? What if we became our own influence by seeing the truth within the upliftment? What if we see the upliftment within the new way of knowing instead of reveling in the controversy? I think it's something to consider, to use manipulation in positive ways, in ways that are building and are not destructive, in ways that are healing towards a peaceful mind. I'd like to thank you for taking these few moments to listen to what I have to say. I greatly, greatly appreciate you. So I'd like to ask you, what do you think about manipulation? Do you only consider it to be a bad thing, a means of control? How do you think you could manipulate yourself into positivity, into a better mindset? Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's an acceptable way to see manipulation? I'd love to hear from you. Please comment or email theloveofselfpodcast@gmail.com. Please remember, I'm not a therapist. Also, my new book is out, Love Yourself, a book of poetry and spiritual writings for self-love. It's available now on bookbaby.com. Purchase link is in my Instagram bio. I wish you all peace, love, and joy, always. Until next time.